Now, job hunting post-COVID-19 looks nothing like it did before. Lockdown rules, transitioning interviews to video as well. Candidates need to quickly adopt new technology as well if they can find webcams, etc. They've all gone missing, as well as finding new ways to build connections and report as well. Joining us to discuss this more, Renata Bernarde, host of the Job Hunting podcast and the creator of the Job Hunting Made Simple online course. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for having me. So much to talk about with the Virgin Airlines situation today.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And there's a lot of people right now who are living through this process of administration. It's the first time. A lot of people think entering administration is the end. What will be going through many of these workers' minds, and what should they be doing?
Well, I've been servicing the Virgin Airlines former employees since late last year because the restructures have been happening since then, and I'm part of the outplacement servicing for Virgin. It's a really difficult time, especially now with the COVID pandemic, when the airline workers are not, it's not possible for them to transition into other airlines. So they have to be really flexible because the whole sector has been impacted. You can use this as an opportunity to really take time and take stock and think about your innermost dreams and aspirations. From crisis comes opportunity. And, you know, this is the sort of time when you really, that's the only thing that you can do, is to think about that time where you can pivot and think of the granular level of your skill set and how it can transition into other sectors. So as an example, if you work for an airline company and you've been working in the catering side of business, could that transition into health and aging, for example? I have been helping a client in that situation at the moment. Now, health and aging would really benefit for best practices in catering and at scale, right? So what you need to do is transition those skill sets and convey that experience to a whole different network of recruiters and employers that you're not really familiar with.
Now, a lot of people will be going through shock at the moment. We just heard from Steve Pavinas, who's the head of the Engineers Union. They did a phone hookup at 6 o'clock last night to say, look, this is what we're hearing. We're probably going to see the airline collapse, go into voluntary administration. And there's this sense of shock, this sense of why is this happening? How much time should people be spending on those feelings before then, I suppose, trying to transition and move into getting on the front foot? Because for a lot of people, it will take some time, and they can't really transition to that headspace of getting a job or looking for other work when they don't know if they'll get their job back. And for a lot of people, I mean, you talk about the catering, I understand that, but if you're an airline pilot, then there's only been a couple of choices as to where you can work, to go through all of what, you know, your training, and then all of a sudden you lose, your airline that you work for goes under and there aren't any other choices. How much time should people be spending looking within before they start to seek a new job?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I did a whole series of podcasts. I have a podcast called the Job Hunting Podcast, and I did a whole series of podcasts on this exactly, Aaron, because people go through grieving processes, and this is not an emergency. This is a slow moving train wreck, and people need to stop reacting very quickly and take stock and reflect. And I can tell you this, I have been talking to a lot of people who should be accessing job seeker, and they are not, because they have never done this before. They have never been in this situation before. And one of the hardest things for me is to insist that people do take time to consider all of the options available to them, because it will be months before they find work again, right? So if you haven't yet applied for job seekers or did a whole sort of scenario planning about your situation, considering the worst case scenario, let's say you don't get a job for the next 12 months, 6 months, 3 months, and apply for possible accessing your superannuation, talking to your bank about your mortgage, to your real estate agent about your rent. All of these things are important to consider, because this is not going to be resolved very soon. So this is really important, and it gives you time to grieve and to take stock and reflect. And then in a few weeks from now, build yourself a routine and start applying for jobs again. And the reason why I say that, so I've been working with people. I have a community that I service, and I have my clients, and some of them have been through this grieving process for longer. And this week I have a live coaching session where I'm saying, okay, let's start applying for jobs again. And the reason why I say that is this: nobody's going to judge you if you don't get the job. This is the best time for you to practice that muscle, to interview, to apply for and build your resume and build your resiliency. And in what better chance than now? If you don't get the job, it's not your fault. And you're going to keep a finger on the pulse of how the job market is progressing.
It's incredible. I've got a few friends who've been out of work because they left their job before coronavirus, and watching them, they're the happiest people in the world. There's no pressure or anxiety to get back into the workforce right now because they simply know, I can't. There's no point looking for a job right now. There's a chance to actually go within, particularly people who've been working for 10, 15, 20 years full time, and now all of a sudden they've got all the time in the world to rediscover themselves. I guess the message is to make the most of this time as well, to be able to have a look within to see, what is the job that I want to do? Am I actually in the right workforce or workplace? Where would I love to go? And is now the right time to even consider pivoting to start my own business?
Well, yes. I think that a lot of clients of mine and people that I'm talking to have been considering starting their own business. It is a difficult time to start your own business, Ahron, I have to say. So, it's one of the things where, as a career coach, I have to insist that people consider how challenging it would be also to start your own business, but it's something you can think about. The other thing that you can consider is the gig economy. And I've been watching things earlier, and I know that there are conversations on either side of the fence. Should we be putting more effort into having permanent jobs, or should we be investing in gig economy? Should we be focusing on getting jobs in the city or moving into regional areas? But we're all learning as we go. This is unprecedented times, and people will have to put themselves in the shoes of customers, put themselves in the shoes of business owners. And by doing that scenario planning, then understand where we're going in the future.
All right, Renata, appreciate your time. Some great tips there. Thank you.
Okay, bye, Ahron.
All right, let's